Let's try a couple more of those. On my next example, I again have two values. So I'm going to label them xy and xy. I'm going to again use the equation y equals ab to the x. So the first thing I'm going to do is plug in 9 for y and 2 for x. And then I'm going to plug in 324 for y and 4 for x. I'm again going to try and solve this to get a by itself. So if I solve that to get a alone, I would divide by b squared. So a would equal 9 over b squared. Once I see my a value, I can then take this 9 over b squared and plug it in for my a value there. So when I do that, I would get 324 equals 9 over b squared times b to the fourth. Once I do that, I can then simplify to get 324 equals 9. And then this b squared will cancel with 2 of those b squareds, and I will be left with a 9b squared on that side. I would then divide by 9 to get 36. And once I get 36 to solve for b, I would just take the square root of 36 and get b equal to 6. Once I do that, I then have to take the 6 and plug it back in. So over here, I would then take 6 and plug it in for b, and say 6 squared is 36. 9 over 36 simplifies to 1/4. Once I have my a and my b, I can then write my equation as 1/4 times 6 to the x power. Let's try one more of that kind. So on my next one, I have an x and a y and an x and a y again. I'm going to start up here by plugging in my numbers for x and y. So my y is 2 equals ab to the negative 2, and then I have 0.25 equals ab to the first. So in this case again, I'm going to try to get a alone. I'm going to take this top one and I'm going to rewrite that as 2 equals a over b squared, and then in order to get a alone, I'm going to multiply both sides by b squared, and that will give me my a value. Once I have my a value, I'm going to take that a value, this 2b squared, and plug it in for the a up here. So now I have 0.25 equals 2b squared times b. Once I do that, I'm then going to divide by 2, or if you wanted to do this all without a calculator, this is the same as 1/4. So I would multiply by 1/2, and I would get 1/8 equals b to the third. I would then, to undo that third power, bring it to a cube root or a 1/3 power, and I would get b equal to 1/2. Once I got b equal to 1/2, I would then plug it in here for b. And 1/2 squared is 1 over 4. So my a then would equal 1/2. So in this case, both my b and my a are 1/2. So when I plugged in my equation, that would be my solution. That is how you do it without a calculator. If it was on the calculator portion of the test, there's another way you could do it using your exponential regression key. So if you recall, in the past, we have always put all of our information in, so we put the points under stat edit. And then we get our equation under stat calculate. So in this case, I would hit my stat button, and under edit, I would go up to clear my L1 and clear my L2, and I would start entering my values. Make sure you hit enter after every value you enter. Then I go to L2 and I enter the values there. Once you do that and put them in your stat, to then get the equation, you go stat over to calculate, and you have to scroll all the way down until you find your exponential regression. If you look down there, it is at the number 0. So you could either hit 0 or scroll all the way down to 0 and then hit enter. Once you hit enter, you scroll all the way down until you get to calculate. And then what it gives you is your exponential curve. So in this case, my exponential equation would be 199.29 and then my other number in there was 1.25 to the power of x. So now, once we get that exponential regression line, we want to know when the bacteria will equal 2,000. You can clearly see that the bacteria here is your y. So I'm going to plug in 2,000 for y. And then what we are going to do is we are going to use our logarithmic properties to solve this. So the first thing I would do is divide by that 199.29. So then I get 10.036 equals 1.25x. And then there are multiple ways of doing this. The way I chose to do it is I chose to log both sides. When you log both sides, you can use your logarithmic properties by bringing the x out front. And then to solve for x, you can just divide log of 10.036 and divide it by log of 1.25. And when you do that, you get 10.33 minutes. And that is how you get your answer to the question after you've used your calculator to get your regression line.